Today's encouragement from Daniel, still in chapter 6. Chapter 6 is the chapter of the lion's den. And in this chapter, of course, we see that Daniel's convictions were strong enough to withhold the law that the other officials set. They set the law that no one is to pray to any god, or made the king pass a law no one's to pray to any god or man for 30 days. Because this was a trap to catch Daniel. And in this second half of the chapter, we see the testimony of Daniel himself. And we notice in this second half of Daniel that, in fact, in the chapter in general, but in the second half, we don't read of Daniel actually speaking. In fact, even when the verses 10 and 11, we don't actually hear the words that Daniel prays. We just know that he went into the presence of God and with courage and conviction continued his prayer life out of devotion to the Lord. And of course this leads the officials who are watching Daniel to immediately go to the king and say, Daniel's broken your law and now you've got to throw him into the lion's den. This was their way of getting rid of him. Well, we noticed in the second half of the chapter, as I said, there are no words recorded about Daniel until excuse me, he gets out of the lion's den. Verse 21, Daniel answered, asked the king the next morning after the overnight stay with the lions, may the king live forever. My God sent his angel and had shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done anything wrong before you, your majesty. And what that made me think of the overall lesson was that the testimony of our lives as believers should be the greatest witness. Interesting that the king also said in verse, I think it's verse 16, may your God, whom you serve, continually rescue you. So you see that the witness that Darius had witnessed was the life of Daniel. And the second thing I noticed was that the Bible records why Daniel was preserved from the den of lions, and that was his faith. Verse 23, Daniel was lifted from the den. No wound was found on him because he had trusted in his God. And that is a real challenge to our faith as a Christian. Of course, we're saved by faith, but then we need faith to live out the Christian life. Remember, faith is forsaking all, I trust him, and it's literally a trust in him in our daily lives, in our circumstances. Daniel didn't become bitter or angry, but he prayed and he trusted in God's sovereignty to work it out. And whether he was delivered from the lions or not, Daniel didn't know he was going to be preserved from the lions. We know because we have the whole of the chapter. Daniel's faith was strong enough to have conviction, to be dedicated to God regardless of the cost. And sometimes we can forget that in Daniel chapter 6, that Daniel did actually go to the lion's den. So God didn't preserve him from the lions, but he preserved him, as Darius said in verse 27, from the power of the lions. But there is that cost when we're devoted to the Lord. There's also that cost in our lives. But then I noticed the last thing was that God showed himself to Darius to be real and powerful. Of course, Daniel believed that, otherwise he wouldn't have prayed when the law was passed. But Darius didn't believe that. But notice the change when, at the end of the chapter, when Daniel comes out of the lion's den. Verse 25, then King Darius wrote to all nations, peoples of every language in all the earth of his kingdom, and they were the ruling power at this time. May you prosper greatly. I issue a decree in every part of my kingdom people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. And here it says, he is the living God and he endures forever. I thought this was a real powerful witness that Darius had come to experience. Verse 24, it wasn't that there was something wrong with the lions, because whenever those who falsely accused Daniel were thrown into the lion's den, the lions crushed them before they reached to the bottom. So that was God showing Darius that he was real and powerful. Even if Daniel had been eaten by lions, it was still showing that God is real and powerful. But the fact that when those falsely accused went down the lions and they were killed, it showed that God did do exactly what Daniel said. He sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lion. This is the witness that Darius picks up. Verse 27, he rescues and saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. That is the witness of Darius the king. And so it shows us that we can have a powerful testimony just by living that committed life to the Lord. It shows us that maybe we need to pray like the disciples said, Lord, increase our faith. We think of the faith of Daniel. We need to have a greater faith and greater trust in the sovereignty of God in our lives. And we need to have convictions that we're prepared, not prepared to change. But also we see that God showed himself to be real and powerful. Thank you for listening, and I hope you're encouraged.